So here we have our 200 grams of sourdough and our warm water. So I'm going to infuse the sourdough with the warm water, and this is going to kick it into action. It's going to stimulate fermentation. So I'm using a hand whisk just to mix it all together. And that's just going to distribute the sourdough nice and even throughout the water. And that'll be then added to the rest of the water, and we're going to make a dough out of it. So sometimes the dough will stick to the bottom, so again just add more water and hand whisk it again. Try and get it all into your dough. So here we have our 1 kilo of flour, and I'm just adding in the water and the sourdough together. So just make sure you get it all out of the container. And then just using an open hand, just start to stir the sourdough through the flour. You can see I'm just rotating the bowl. It just helps to mix it nice and even. So you just keep rotating and mixing like this with your open hand. And what you're trying to do is just ensure that all the flour is coated with the water, okay, so that there's no dry flour particles left. And it takes about 2 or 3 minutes. The dough comes together quite cohesively. And you can just see it's got the semblance of forming a dough already. You will see that during the autolyse, the dough comes really nicely together. Once the dough is mixed, cover the bowl with cling film or plastic. Leave it in a warm place, and I'm going to let it rest for the autolyse. Once the autolyse time is over, you're going to sprinkle the salt in on top of your dough, and then you're just going to gather the salt and distribute it throughout the dough. So it's very easy. You can do it with a plastic scraper. It makes it nice and easy. So just go down to the bottom and fold it over the top. And again, you rotate your bowl as you do it. And this way you get all of the salt worked through the dough. And you can see the dough is becoming nice and plastic. It's nice and even, and the dough is coming together nicely. So here we're going to do the first stretch and fold. So I'm just emptying out the dough onto a flour table, and I'm going to just elongate the dough and get it into a pad shape, okay? A little rectangle. So if you can just imagine a rectangle below you, pull the dough out until it roughly looks like it, and fold over 1/3. Fold over again, and then pull it in from the sides, stretch and fold it, and from the right, stretch and fold it. And then just flip it over, okay? You can see the dough is nice and taut, there's tension in it. So I'm going to flip it once more and just stretch it one more time. So be careful that it doesn't tear. If you see it starting to tear, you've done enough. And I'm just going to stretch that. I'm going to bring it into a little ball shape. And see, another stretch again. And see the tension in the dough. And then using a scraper, I'm just going to round it on the bottom, just to get that nice shape. So you can see how easily it's forming into a ball now. And I'm going to just lift it off the table and put it into a bowl. Here's our sourdough. It has had all its stretch and folds, and it's time to scale. So you can see it's in the bowl. That's roughly half. Bring in my scales, my digital scales, and I'm looking for 962 grams. So I have my two pieces of dough equally divided, 962 grams each, and I'm literally just going to fold it like a Swiss roll, fold it and fold it over again, and then I'm going to present it seam up. I'm going to fold it and fold it again. I'll do the same with the second piece. Fold it again. Seam side up. Just like a Swiss roll, gentle pressure, fold it again. So I have my two dough pieces, and I want to give them a little bit of shape and body so that they will trap the gas well. So I want to get some tension into the dough. So I'm going to cup my hands like this, and I'm going to pull towards myself using my bottom fingers. So if you watch, I'm just going to pull, and you can see the dough starts to gather. I have no flour on the table. I'm going to pull again. I'm going to pull a third time. So I have a nice little ball. I'll leave that to one side. I'm going to get the second piece of dough. So I'm going to pull. Hands on the table, cup them, pull towards yourself. And if you watch really slowly as I pull, you can see the surface tension building up here. See, across the top of the dough. So one more time, just watch it very slow. Here's the surface tension. The back is holding on the table, it's dragging, and it's allowing me to build the tension up in the dough piece. And I now have my two balls of dough. They're both ready for their intermediate proof stage. So I'm going to cover them with a plastic sheet, and I'm going to leave them rest for 25 to 30 minutes until they get a little bit of gas and that they relax as well. And we'll be able to get them ready then for their final shaping. So I'm using 2 banneton baskets for the boules, and I'm just going to dust them very lightly. So I have a small sieve here. I'm just going to dust them lightly with some potato starch. It helps prevent them sticking completely to it, and it aids the release. The other thing the potato starch does is it soaks into the dough, and you get a very nice pattern with the lines forming around the proofed dough when it's ready to bake. So our dough has had its intermediate proof, and you can see the dough is actually relaxed from the ball. So that's exactly what we wanted. So now we're going to final shape the dough. So you always pick the dough up from the bottom and fold from the bottom. So I'm going to pick it up, and this is known as a stitching technique. So I'm going to just elongate the dough so it's a rectangular pad. I'm just going to fold this over about 3/4 of the way up, pat it down, then I'm going to stretch the dough out, and I'm going to cross it over, keeping the tension on the dough. So you can see I have the dough tensioned here, and because I picked it up on the bottom side, it's nice and sticky, so it sticks to itself when you overlap it. So then I'm going to lift up the lid here, fold it over. You can see it just sticks, it holds itself in place. And the stitching is just here. We pull out these edges and we cross them over. We're building up tension here, and we're building up tension here. And we do the same on the other side, just over and back. Nice and gentle. You don't want to tear the dough. We're preserving all the gas bubbles. You can see one of them here, which is going to give us a nice structure on the inside. I'm just going to flatten it out slightly with my hand, and then I'm going to fold this over and just push back. And then I'm going to put my thumbs here. I'm going to curl and push the dough in and curl. All the time I'm building up a little bit of tension in the dough. So you can see the tension is here. And then if you want to, you can use a scraper just to clean it off the table. And for the boule shape, then I'm just going to pull again. The same action that I did before. Just going to scoop it up. You can see the surface tension building. Do it once more. And at the very end, I'm just curling in my fingers inwards and upwards to keep that nice ball shape. There you can see we've lovely tension in the dough. So we'll do the second one. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to reverse it and pull it out into a rectangular shape, roughly. Fold it over, pat it down to make sure it sticks, and then I'm just going to stretch it out, keeping the tension on the dough nice and tight. I'm lifting it off the table so it's not sticking. Then the top I'm just going to pull up, press down here. So all the time we're building in the tension into the body of the dough. Again, I'm just going to cross stitch it here. Nice and slow. And then I'm going to pat it down a little bit. I'm going to just pull the dough over and press it down. Curl it with my thumbs just to get the tension going here across the top of the skin. Then I'm going to boule. I'm going to be a boulanger. I'm going to be a boulanger, which is a man who makes boules, and I'm going to make a ball. So a really good habit to get into before you put your boule into its shape is just roll it again into a little bit of flour. In this case I have some potato flour on the table, and you can put it into your banneton. Now I'm using a banneton, but if you've got a cereal bowl or even a food bowl, you can line it with a tea towel, dust it with potato starch or rye flour, and it does exactly the same job. It will release the dough from the container when you're ready to bake it. So here's the final one. Just give it another little boule. I want to roll it in flour. So you can see it as a nice coating of flour. It's not going to stick. I'm going to put it into the banneton. And I'm going to leave these sit out for about 2.5 to 3 hours, just till they rise a little bit. And then I'm going to put them into the fridge overnight and hold them at a temperature of 3 to 5 degrees for 12 to 16 hours. So lots of changes are going to happen. The dough is going to start to increase in its acidity. We're going to be getting gassing. And by the time we come in to get the dough and bake it tomorrow, it should have risen up to almost the top here of the banneton shape. So the dough has had 12 hours in the fridge overnight, and as you can see, it has risen to almost up to the lid. It's nice and cool. You can see the gas, the bubbles, fermentation. It has got nice body. So we're going to put it into the oven. We're going to dust it and turn it out, and then we're going to bake it. So my sourdough has proved. I've just taken it out of the fridge, and you can see that these ones have banneton baskets. So I'm just going to dust the sourdough a little bit with a sieve. Okay, and that's just to prevent the dough from sticking onto the parchment paper. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how you get them out. So I'm literally just going to slide, shake it. You can see your dough releases out of the basket quite well. Here's the second one. So again, that's the two of them. 2 loaves. So I'm going to slide those onto the sole of the oven. But before I do that, I'm just going to use the blade. I'm going to give them a cross-hatch pattern. So I'm just using the weight of the blade. I'm going to come at an angle now to give it like a diamond shape. The same here. I'll just put those into the oven. You can see them there. They're nicely cut. Just put those into the oven and we'll have a look at them and see how they bake out.
Hey.
So we have a result. These are the 2 sourdough boules made from the starter that we began over a week ago. So you can see the crosshatch gives a really nice cut, gives a really nice shape to the sourdough. And all we have to do now is cut them and have a look inside at the texture. So here we see beautiful sourdough, nice big holes in the crumb. Okay, sign of natural fermentation, long-term natural fermentation. Another slice.